We've got Balto, we made some adjustments internally. We were able to get everybody on board, and along with some training, we ended up taking first place that year and becoming the top agency for that client. Hi, my name is Nick Jarman. I am the Senior Collection Manager at Credit Control LLC, headquartered out of St. Louis, Missouri, and we have been partnered with Balto for a little over 3 years now. We actually heard about Balto at a client conference when they invited several different vendors to come up on stage and present their products and services. Once we watched the demo and saw what Balto had to offer, it was such a great tool that it thought we priced itself out of what we were looking for. However, when we actually found out the cost of use, it quickly became back into our consideration. How this product works, and an example of how we used it, is we have a client that is very strict on their call monitoring and compliance. Every month we would do call calibrations with our client, and prior to Balto, we would not necessarily always have the greatest of scores on the scorecard. But once we got Balto, after about 3 to 4 months of really learning and understanding the product, we started to not only pass all of our call calibrations, but we ended up tiering out in the top level. And from there, as we continue to use it over the last couple years, it's just gotten our scorecards higher and higher to where we maintain one of the highest quality compliance metrics in the network. Our partnership is great. A true partnership is a give and take, somebody that's going to be there for you and you need to reciprocate that back. The partnership for us is one that we truly value. From the CEO down to our customer success manager, they're right there at our disposal. When issues pop up, we are able to get them addressed right away. And as far as our customer success manager, anytime that we need something done, they're there to do it. And they're there to do it in a way that you can tell that they're really educated and knowledgeable about the product. And it allows us to get things done quicker than if we were have to do this all by ourselves. So as far as Balto is concerned, they have many strengths. Some of the strengths relate down from the top down. So from their CEO to their customer success manager, all the way down to the IT and development team. With the CEO, he's there right when we need him at our disposal if we have to escalate issues. Our customer success manager gives us a lot of ideas on the things that we're doing right and the things that we need to fix. And you can tell by his knowledge that there's a clear understanding of the product and that they are pretty much an expert in what they're doing, which really helps us as an ease of use where we don't have to get a bunch of people involved or spend a lot of resources internally to get these compliance mandates out. Our metrics have exponentially increased during our time with Balto, from our QA scores to our compliance scores to call calibration scorecards. We've seen a drastic improvement over the years. Within the first year or so, not using Balto, we would see some of our call calibration scores in the high 70s or so, maybe low 80s. Within the first 3 to 4 months of using Balto, we ended up in the high 80s, low 90s. About 6 to 9 months later, we really didn't see a scorecard below 90% and ended up some months at 100%, but always north of 95%. And so that plays a big factor in a lot of considerations when you're looking at your compliance scores, your audits, anything that you're being looked at by your client. And so that was really important to us. A big thing that we saw happen was over this 4-year span, the first year we didn't, and I'm going to use a client as an example, we didn't fare so well in the scorecard rankings. We were, about 10 out of 14. We've got Balto, we made some adjustments internally. we were able to get everybody on board, and along with some training, we ended up taking first place that year and becoming the top agency for that client. The next year, we still had our compliance scores going good, audits were looking well. We fell just a little bit short of first place that year, but this past year, we ended up scoring first place again, making that 2 out of the last 4 years that we've been the vendor of the year for this client. And that's not something that we take lightly, because we know just how difficult it is to get there. We know how important it is for call quality and compliance to be a part of the consideration, and that we play a big role with Balto in getting us to that level. One of the things that Balto does as well is it really helps us treat new hires in a way that they can get on the phones a lot quicker than they would traditionally for between a 3 to 4 week training program. We can have new hires in a classroom for a couple weeks, and they're learning all of the stuff that they need to learn being at a new agency. But they're also learning Balto as well, because once they get out on the phones, they're going to be on the phones quicker because they're going to be more comfortable. It's somebody like Balto riding along next to them, giving them that comfortability, knowing that they have somebody that is going to be there for them when they need to know what to say, or if a situation pops up, a dynamic prompt comes into play, it'll tell them what they need to respond to. So getting the collector to be comfortable is very important, and that's one of the things that Balto will also do for you. As it relates to another use of Balto, comes into play when you're looking at training and going from training to live collections, where it used to take us 4, maybe 5 weeks of in-depth training in a classroom. We are now able to cut that down into about 2 weeks, and the agents are prepared to go out there on the floor and with good ability start collecting on the debts. And instead of it taking 2 months or 3 months for a collector to earn a bonus check, that first month they actually have a very good opportunity of making that bonus check, because they're now prepared in order to hit on the items that they need to, and having Balto follow along with them. When it looks at closing rates, when you're looking at how many payments you get out of how many right party contacts, new hires, when they would first get onto the floor, we would see a closing rate of somewhere in the low teens, whereas now we can expect that to be in the low 20s. For an experienced collector, what we've seen is when they were looking at closing rates in the low 20s, now they're able to bump that up into the high 20s, if not early 30s, all dependent upon what type of business they're working, of course. And that just allows everybody to win. It allows the collector to win, it allows the company to win, it allows the client to win, and at the end of the day, it's a win-win for everybody involved. So as we've talked about, Balto has a lot of advantages for your collection staff. One thing that kind of gets lost in the shuffle is the value of it on actual performance. If you think about having collectors do more things right more of the time, then ultimately that's going to provide higher returns all around. And so we don't just look at Balto as a compliance measurement, as something that we can make sure that we're compliant with all the laws, regulations. We want to also make sure that we utilize it for performance. So we want to monitor the metrics of our checklist and make sure that they're following the directions from the top to the bottom, along with the dynamic prompts. And what we've seen with that is it keeps everything structured. And by keeping everything structured, the collector doesn't have to go all around, doesn't have to try to figure out where things are at or what to say. They're able to zoom in right on the focus of collecting more money. And that is one of the things that Balto truly does. For us, it's a dual purpose, not just about making sure we're compliant, but making sure we're also profitable. For the most part, when the pandemic hit, our company has stayed in the office. For a very brief amount of time, we did work from home. And working remotely always brings its challenges, which is why we're very favorable to being in the office. But for the periods of time that we have worked from home and they have worked remotely, then we are able to monitor them in a lot better way than we traditionally would be without it. So having Balto, looking at all the reporting that is available to them, not just the real-time reporting that's available to them, but also the historic reports as well, allows us to really stay on top of what the collectors are actually doing as it relates to collections if you are in a position where you work from home. As it relates to the cost of Balto, to be honest, when we were at our client conference and Balto was one of the vendors there, we really loved the product. We really liked we liked what it could do. We liked the future of where they were heading. We looked at it had a very bright future. After leaving the conference, it was kind of on a wish list. We didn't know at the time what the cost was, but we knew for something like that, it's probably something that we weren't going to take advantage of at that time. So the next day, one of their account executives reached out to us to schedule a personal demo with myself and the other leadership within the company. And we learned a lot more about the product. We learned in depth what it can do. And we finally asked the question that everybody wants to know up front: what's the cost? And the cost that they gave us was one where we looked at each other and said, really? And it was a very cost effective for what we were looking at. And the product itself was in a position of its own. There was really no competition. There really is no competition for what they offer. And the price is well worth utilizing Balto. As for the future with Balto, I think the future looks bright from our perspective, their perspective, a partnership. They come out with the right amount of products and services, and it's not overbearing. It's, when the time is right, they generally know and they release new products. We've been fortunate to beta test some of those, and we appreciate them for allowing us to do that. Also in the future, we look for, more collaborations. We look for more innovative products from Balto, and at the end of the day, as they keep going and they keep growing, then we look forward to continuing to be a partner with them. If you're one that is looking to partner with Balto, the only question I have is, why haven't you already? But seriously, at the end of the day, Balto is a great company run by great people that put out great products. And we've been a testament to that for over 3 years now. So I would highly recommend Balto to anybody that is looking to increase their efficiencies, be more compliant, have a great QA scorecard, and get your collectors more comfortable as they go through the collection process.
Well, my name is Andrew Erker, and I'm an Enterprise Customer Success Manager at Balto. I've been at Balto for about 1.5 years now and absolutely love it. So from my perspective, I meet with a team of people at Credit Control every week, and we go through what we call progress review, where we look at metrics, we look at what we're trying to drive toward, and it's been really great to get to know some of the managers and some of the training personnel, get to know Nick, and so that's primarily what we do in those weekly meetings.
Yeah, and the project meetings for us are invaluable. Not only are we able to have them virtually, which allows us to get more interaction from the managers, it allows us for better collaboration.
I think what makes any relationship successful is, number one, setting very clear and realistic expectations, And I think we were able to do that early on in the relationship, and then follow up on those expectations throughout the course of the relationship. And then the second thing, which is maybe even more important, is establishing trust. So establishing trust between Balto and credit control, the people on both sides. And that part was easy. We actually went on site. The two of the founders of Balto and myself visited Nick and team at Credit Control, and it's an amazing culture, and that culture at Credit Control spills over into our meetings that we have with each other. And so building that trust right away was very natural.
And when Andrew took a look at our checklist and our dynamic prompts, which are the key catalysts in Balto, he was able to find numerous different items that he recommended that we tweak that would ultimately help our collectors do better. And that's the one thing that we truly like about Andrew and the partnership is, they're always looking to not make just themselves better, but making our collectors better as well.
Yeah, and adding on to that, it's great to be in a relationship where, our success is their success and their success is our success. So it's a very symbiotic relationship. There's a lot of mutual benefit between us.
One of the tactics that we use with Balto is getting everybody's buy-in. So anytime you have a new product or you have new collectors that come on board, they need to get buy-in on what they're looking at and not just, oh, it's another application. So one way we get the buy-in is every month or so, we invite the collectors that are on Balto to huddle up in a conference room, and we show them the checklist, we show them the dynamic prompts, and we take a lot of listening time from recordings that we've heard, and we ask them what they want to see. We want to know what is not something that they feel comfortable saying, what is something that's wasteful, what are they saying that is positive, but we may not have it included in the checklist or a dynamic prompt. So we find a lot of value in doing that, because once the collectors are heard, then that buy-in is there and they feel a part of the whole product and the whole solution as a whole.
Yeah, and tactically, when we meet with the credit control team to do those progress reviews, we are looking at the data. So we're looking at all the examples where a specific objection came up on a call, and we can see how the collectors responded and whether or not that response led to a win. And so we look through all of those different objections or those different things that happen on a call, and we're able to identify where we need to tweak the playbook, what things are going well, and then also there are coaching opportunities. So Balto is a tool that allows visibility into every aspect of the conversation on both sides. So on the collector side and on the other side as well.
And one key part of Balto that was just recently released not too long ago is called Calls Explorer. And for an operator or a compliance person, it's a dream come true. So what actually happens is it produces a written statement of the call and shows you everything that was stated on the call. But when issues come up, things that they're not supposed to say, checklist items they didn't cross off, dynamic prompts that they failed to do, the Calls Explorer will actually fast forward to each part in the call so that you don't have to waste time like you traditionally would, which is listening to a call from beginning to end, having to start and stop the process. So if there are 3 issues with a Call Explorer will find each of those issues, give you the transcript of what happened above, and then it'll also just take you directly to that spot in the call.
I think I expect to enjoy the interactions. I think I expect to get on those meetings, those weekly meetings, and see Jeff and Ashley and Tiffany and enjoy the conversation. And I think that it's a really good match And so I expect to enjoy it. I expect to learn from it, and we expect to provide a very high quality service.
And as it goes for us with expectations, we expect them to be the subject matter expert, and that's what they've shown so far. Like I said, as far as from the beginning to set up with little IT involvement, to when they were on site last, we had a couple kinks that we needed to work out from an IT perspective, and it was one of the founders that came in, located what some of the issues were, fixed them on site, and it was very important to them. So when they make it important to them, when we're important to them, it really puts a good place where we're at with the trust and the partnership. So what we've found is there are some piecemeal solutions that are out there, but they don't offer the totality of what Balto offers. And from a price perspective, some of the companies that are trying to get into the market that Balto is in, that I believe they've cornered, is the price point prices them out of the market for what they're trying to do. So it's interesting seeing a lot of companies trying to mimic what Balto is doing, and but as long as Balto continues to stay at the forefront of what they're doing and remain forward thinking, then I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to outdo them.
It's interesting right now in this economic environment. A lot of people are facing headwinds, and from my perspective, inside Balto, we seem to just be gaining momentum. We seem to be more focused on the things that really matter, that are really going to drive value for our customers, and that's really something to behold. We have an amazing research and development team, and they're presenting, every couple of weeks they'll present on projects that they're working on, new features and new tools, and it's like a pep rally because it's so exciting to see all the things that they're working on, integrating artificial intelligence into the application, into the platform, in a way that I already know is going to benefit our customers, based on my experience working with dozens of customers of ours. So that's extremely exciting. I think the future of Balto is looking very strong, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Well, I think for somebody looking to partner with Balto, the expectations should be high, because it is a tool that is changing the landscape of the contact center, and we also hold ourselves to a very high standard. One of our 6 values is love every customer, and we try to live that out in every interaction that we have with our customers. So for somebody looking at Balto, you should expect that. You should also expect some really good results from having the application running within your contact center.
And I agree that from our side that the expectations are high because of the things that the product does in its totality, not just from a compliance standpoint, but from a performance standpoint, and everything that we've already witnessed with what Balto brings to the table. Not only do we have those expectations high, but they meet or exceed them.
Well, awesome, Nick. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for being here with us, and thanks for being a wonderful partner.
Thank you, and we appreciate the relationship with Balto as well. We're fortunate to get to work with Andrew and Mark and the team, and we look forward to where the future goes.